I see.
100%.
So you're recommending the individual investors to engage themselves in the due diligence of hiring an attorney and do the background check?
No, I'd like them to use their migration agent, but I want the migration agent to do the background check of the everything.
I see. So it is important for investor to pick the right migrant agent,
That's
right? So,
and the migration agent, if they do the diligence the right way, they would have done an independent study of the project, documents, because they're the ones selecting the project.
Absolutely, I agree. Then now we have to come to selecting EB-5 project. What are the 3 or more important points of selecting good EB-5 project?
I think there are really 2 main issues with EB-5 project that you want to think about. One is the immigration point, which is, will it create enough jobs? So that's one risk factor around whether this is a viable project or not. And so will it create enough jobs? And so one of the things one might look at is, has this project already started? How many jobs has it already created? Those type of things are, I think, one of the things you'd look at. On the investment safety side, I think then you start looking at, okay, what is it that I'm investing in? What kind of project is it? Right? And so I think you would do some basic diligence about this idea of, well, is it a hotel? Is it, if that's the kind of hotel they're building, do their project costs match up with the type of hotel they're going to build in that marketplace? So some basic diligence around what they're actually building. And then the really important one, which is, the 2 really important in my mind, which is, okay, what kind of security is there for the repayment of that EB-5 loan? Is it a first security mortgage on the lands? Is it just purely a mezz position? Is it a mezz position that's 5 levels up from with other lenders in the mix? You got to understand what is the risk profile of the investment.
I see.
And that's really important because they're not all the same, and actually every project is actually quite unique. And then the last thing is, it's all fine and good, but at the end of the day, you have to get repaid. And what is their plan to repay the loan?
I see.
And does that repayment strategy make sense? And so, for instance, I'll give you a very basic example. If you say, okay, if they're building a hotel, and you know it's going to take 2 years, and generally speaking, you need 3-4 years to stabilize income before any real bank will come to refinance the project. And if they say your EB-5 loan term is 4 years, you know this is not going to end well. Right? Because the loan term ends before you can even really refinance the project. So these are the types of things I think one really needs to look at.
I think it's interesting because TJ makes some great points, but as someone who is looking at these details, I think you got to step back and say, okay, they're coming at this from, maybe they're an artist, maybe they're a student of, mathematics, maybe they're in biology. When they look at a project, how are they supposed to know what project is good, what project is bad? So I think maybe the first thing they should do is ask their migration agent, is there some choices? Do I have, one, and ask the migration agent to give them a list of the benefits and the negatives of both projects.
I see.
And this is the migration agent's duty to mention the positives and negatives of each of the projects they're offering.
Of course.
And I think this is their role.
Okay.
And then they get all the details and they can decide, because the investor, typically they're not finance people. And if they are, then they're probably looking into way more detail than we're talking about.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think the basic thing is to ask the migration agent the details. And people sometimes think, big is better. That's not necessarily true. I think it depends. Sometimes they think only urban areas are better, only New York City's better, or only, that is not true. Every area has its own merit. I think it's really important that the migration agent at least sets out some detail.
I see. So the migration agent should look at each project depending on where it is located, what it is doing, etc., right?
That's the rule. The migration agent's role is to select good projects for the investor.
So what do you think is the role of EB-5 fund manager?
So what's interesting is the fund manager in EB-5 sometimes is the same as the developer. Sometimes the fund manager is the same. Sometimes the fund manager is a third-party group which puts the funds together and lends it or puts equity into the project.
I see.
So it's important to first identify who is the fund manager in this project. Are they also the project owner, or are they a third-party group? I think that's a good initial question to ask.
I see. Is is any one particular situation better than others?
No, I actually don't think one is better than the other. Some people believe one is better than the other, but I've been doing this for 14 years now. I think there's some amazing vertically integrated developers who also are great fund managers.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. And I think there's also great third-party fund managers who do a great job doing their diligence.
So as a developer and as a third party, they can both be a very good EB-5 fund
I
manager.
think so, absolutely. So you
Oh,
should always do
wonderful.
background checks of the fund manager and the developer, both. Yes. And like TJ said, you don't have to spend all this money, just do a Google search.
It's amazing what you'll find on Google.
That's right. If people just had done their Google search on a lot of the past projects, they would have seen a lot of different.
I see. Do you think just by doing the Google search, do we get to the in-depth
Well, no,
truth?
I think what you guys do, and I know you guys as a firm do this, you do you work with groups and your third parties that do the checks. I know you
Right.
guys do that. I know your founders and what they do. But as a investor, they trust the migration agent to do that research for them.
Absolutely.
But I know you guys check out everybody
Right.
involved.
In a way, that's why we at Сел레나 Immigration, we attend and meet as many EB-5 professionals as possible. We have been very diligent in being connected to EB-5 professionals globally so that we are alert to what's going on
And you
and
guys got
who
a top,
to ask
top
and
25
what
award.
to look into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know you guys are very diligent.
Thank you very much.
The one thing I would say
Mention that.
is, from an investor perspective, they shouldn't be shy about asking questions to the fund manager. So,
Right.
for instance, if you did some diligence and you found some article that wasn't very favorable, but you're not sure if it really matters or is relevant to the actual EB-5 offering, you should ask. The investor should be free to ask the developer or the fund manager, say,
Right.
hey, there's this article, what do you have to say about it? And they should be happy to answer that question for you.
Yeah.
If they're not, then you probably don't want to work with them.
I see.
Right? So they should be very transparent.
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't, I don't think investors should be just making their own decisions up about what this means.
Right.
Please go and ask and see what they
Ask.
say. And you can learn a lot by how they respond to your question.
At the same time, though, I do want to say what's important. If you're on the internet and you're searching and there's a lot of information out there, don't believe all the different information you hear about various projects and stuff. I would really focus on trusting my migration agent, who I built a relationship with, and understanding all the different, because there's a ton of information out there on EB-5. I mean, our website alone, one of the highest searched websites. We have articles from everybody out there, but these articles come from a different point of view. So internet research is good when you're checking background, but I don't think it's good to come up with your own solutions on projects and details. Trust your migration agent, that's what they're there for. You're hiring them for a certain reason. Don't do randomized searches on the internet, because there's some people out there fishing on the internet and preying on the wrong investors.
In general, even though we live in a flood of information online, which is sometimes very helpful, but sometimes it misleads us. It can mislead
That's
us
right.
way to the wrong way.
That's right. So that's why you have to choose the right migration agency with the right track record and the right history, and rely on them to do the process for you.
I
So
agree.
that's why that's what they're there for,
Okay.
right?
Yes. I feel.
Sorry to increase your job.
Yes, thank you. So we thank you so much for being with us today, and we feel very confident that we can deliver a good EB-5 journey to our investors with all of us making an effort together.
Absolutely. This is, Selena has done a great job over the years, and I hope to see you guys come to our next event and our next award ceremony.
We very much look forward to. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for having us.